Well, let's talk about some of the basic principles that are key to your success. You know, like a lot of young men before me, I always enjoyed certain sports as I was coming up the ladder in school. And I'll never forget one particular coach who always inspired and motivated the team members. But even as much as we enjoyed hearing the more advanced techniques and strategies for victory in our sport, sometimes he would just blow the whistle and stop and gather us around. And when we had all formed a circle around him, sat down and were ready to listen, Coach would start out by saying, "You're never too advanced and you're never too good to just go back and review your fundamentals." And so he would put us through our paces, starting with some of the things that we thought we didn't need to review. And he'd have us go back and look at the way we did the basics, because he knew from experience and from years of coaching that forgetting the basics are what gets so many athletes out of sync and onto the injured list, or to go down in defeat on the field of athletics. So, before we get too far along in our journey to success, it would be good to just stop right here and now for a brief moment and consider some of the basic guiding principles that should be fundamental to your use of the 1-Minute Tax Coach. First, you got to decide. You individually have to stop right here and right now and make a very basic and fundamental decision whether or not reducing your tax bill and increasing your cash flow is really worth your time and effort and personal initiative. After all, most people around you are more concerned about just making the money in the first place than they are about how to protect it. So if paying 30 to 40 cents or even more out of every single dollar you make in taxes doesn't bother you, when you have other legal and ethical options available to you, then don't blame the system if you don't take advantage of it. And don't blame your tax advisor for not showing you when, where, and how to reduce your tax bill. This is something that has to be important to you, not just your advisors. You are ultimately the one who has to make the decision. So make it one way or the other. If you want to focus just on making the money and not concern yourself with taking what's legally yours under our tax law, then just do that. But if reallocating the way you make money so that you can ethically reduce your taxes and put that same money into expanding your business opportunities or accumulating more wealth for retirement is important to you, then make that decision right now, to pay attention to the lessons learned here and to follow the program. Second, you got to commit yourself. After all, legally reducing your tax bill and increasing your cash flow is something you have to do for yourself. You're the one that has to commit to this. But there's nothing wrong at all with having a coach so you can legally and ethically become more tax efficient. You know, far too many taxpayers expect to hire someone else who will have the job of figuring out for them the method to reduce their taxes. But you know what? Reducing your taxes is a lot like losing weight. The experts can tell you how, and they can give you tips and suggestions that have proven successful for other people, but you have to be the one who's actively involved in making it happen. Third, you gotta adapt and change your way of thinking. You know inside that changing for the better and gaining practical skills you never had before is good for you and good for your bottom line. So to succeed, you'll need to become adaptable and willing to embrace change. Not for the sake of change itself, but change that makes sense. You must be willing to follow the laws that Congress has passed and adapt yourself to keeping accurate records and continually educating and updating yourself as to the changes in the law. After all, if you're not willing to adapt and change the way you do things, you'll probably be missing out on things that will help your bottom line. Finally, you gotta focus. As you go through the components of the 1-Minute Tax Coach system, you'll need to eventually have a business and tax reality checkup and probably a money makeover. You probably already know that waiting until just before the tax deadline each year is not a good time to have a relaxed and analytical discussion with your tax professional. Instead, it's a good idea to arrange a leisurely time at the end of each year or early in the beginning of the new year to discuss your tax saving strategies. If you follow these fundamental coaching principles and carefully study the 1-minute tax coaching system, you'll be well on your way to saving thousands and thousands of dollars on your taxes and increasing your cash flow dramatically.